On a lonely night, a jackal was running for his life. He was being chased by some mongrels. Soon the jackal reached the end of the village where a washerman lived. To save his life, he entered the washerman's house and jumped into a vat of indigo. He hid there until the mongrels had left. Next day, the jackal went back to the jungle, not realizing that his color had changed. All the other animals were frightened to see the blue creature. While passing by a river, the jackal saw his reflection in the water. He understood why the animals were scared. Soon he became king. One night, a pack of jackals began to howl loudly. The blue jackal too started to howl. The animals guarding his den realized that their king was just an ordinary jackal. He had befooled them, so they chased him out of the jungle. The Lion and the Rabbit. In a forest, there lived a cruel lion who killed animals every day. One day, all the animals asked him to stop killing the other animals. The lion said, "One of you has to come every day to be my meal. The day no one comes, I will kill you all." One day, it was the rabbit's turn to go to the lion. On his way, he saw a well and had an idea. The rabbit roamed the forest and reached the lion's den in the evening. The lion roared, "Where have you been all day?" The rabbit replied, "I was on my way, but another lion stopped me." The lion asked, "Where is he?" The rabbit guided the lion to the well and said, "He is hiding in this well." The lion saw his reflection and thought it was the other lion. He roared angrily and jumped into the well. The king's foolish servant. Once there was a king who had a pet monkey. He used to take it wherever he went. The monkey would stay in the king's bedroom and guard him. One night, when the king was sleeping, the monkey was fanning him, sitting by his side. A housefly came through the window and sat on the king's nose. The monkey tried to drive away the housefly, but in vain. Angrily, he picked up the king's sword to kill the insect. The king's sleep was disturbed due to the sounds in the room, and he opened his eyes. The monkey was standing next to him with the sword in his hand, ready to kill the housefly sitting on his nose. He immediately snatched the sword from the monkey's hand. The king's life was saved by God's grace. He had learned a valuable lesson that the foolish should never be allowed to serve. The Doves and the Rats. Once upon a time, a flock of doves was flying in search of food. Soon they saw rice grains lying under a banyan tree. They began pecking at the grains, but realized that a hunter had laid his net there. The doves were trapped. King Dove said, "Union is strength. Let's fly together. clutching the net to the other end of the jungle. The birds flew away carrying the net. The hunter was shocked. When the flock had flown a distance, King Dove said, "We should fly to my friend, the king of rats. He will set us free." The birds landed near the holes where the rats lived. King Rat was surprised to see them. When King Dove narrated the whole incident, King Rat nibbled the net along with his subjects in just a few minutes. All the doves were free. They cheered with joy and thanked the rats. The Golden Swans. Once upon a time, there lived a king. His palace was surrounded by a lake with a garden around it. Many golden swans lived in the lake. The king would go for a walk in the garden every morning and collect the golden feathers shed by the swans. One day, when the king came to the garden, a beautiful bird sat on his shoulder and tweeted melodiously. Mesmerized by the bird's song, the king said, "Dear bird, stay here forever." The bird was jealous of the golden swans. She lied. "These swans have threatened to kill me if I live here." The king ordered his guards to kill the golden swans. When the swans saw the guards approaching, they took flight. Flying high, they said, "O king, you are foolish to have believed a stranger. Goodbye." By the time the king realized his mistake, the swans had flown far away. Why the crows and the owls are enemies. One day, the birds of a jungle gathered to choose their king. An owl was perched on a tree nearby. The discussion went on for hours. Finally, a parrot suggested, "The owl should be our king." The owl couldn't see anything in the daylight, but heard everything clearly. He was glad. As the birds started preparing for the coronation ceremony, a crow whispered to the other birds, "How can we crown the owl? He gets blind during the day and is ugly." The birds thought about this and postponed the king's election to another day. All the birds flew away except the parrot. The owl wondered why the coronation ceremony had not begun. He asked, "Why is everybody silent?" The parrot replied, "A crow said that you are ugly and blind. All the birds have left." The owl was furious. Since that day, crows and owls became the biggest enemies. The hare and the elephants. It was a hot summer. Waters in the lake had dried up. King Elephant called his subjects and said, "I know of a huge lake in another forest. Let's go there." They marched towards that forest and reached the lake after 5 nights. The elephants were so ecstatic to see water that they unknowingly trampled across a colony of hares and killed many of them. The elephants would daily march to the lake and trample upon the colony of hares. One day, a wise hare went to King Elephant and said, "Your Majesty, our powerful King Moon has forbidden you from drinking the water of this lake." The hare guided the elephant to the lake through a long route. By the time they reached the lake, the moon was shining in the sky. The hare pointed to the moon's reflection in the lake and said, "Our king is shaking with anger." King Elephant saw the trembling moon reflecting in waters and apologized to the hare before leaving the forest along with the other animals. The hares lived happily ever after. The monkey and the hotty bird. There was a mango tree by a river. It was home to many birds who lived on its branches. A little bird lived there too. She had worked hard collecting straws, leaves, and feathers to build her nest. She was proud of her lovely home. One evening, it rained heavily. All the birds and the animals took shelter in their homes. A monkey who was playing near the mango tree took shelter under it. He was drenched. The proud bird saw the monkey and said, "Why didn't you build a home before the rainy season?" The monkey did not like what the bird said and screamed, "Keep quiet, little bird." The haughty bird continued, "Had you worked hard before, you wouldn't be shivering now, but you monkeys keep lazing around." The monkey lost his temper. With one blow, he sent the nest shattering on the ground. The bird stared in disbelief. The lion in a bad mood. One morning, King Lion was in a bad mood. Queen Lioness had told him that he had bad breath. He wanted to confirm the same, so he called upon his 3 counselors, the sheep, the wolf, and the fox. First, he asked the sheep, "Do I have bad breath?" The sheep bowed and said, "Your Majesty, your breath smells terrible." The lion pounced upon the sheep and killed it. Then came the wolf. Scared of the lion, he said, "Dear king, your breath is as fresh as a flower in spring." The lion knew the wolf was lying and squashed him. Now it was the fox's turn. The lion asked the same question. The fox coughed, sneezed, and blew her nose and whispered, "Your Majesty, I have a nasty cold. I cannot smell anything." The lion believed the fox and let her go. Her wisdom had saved her life. The Brahmin and the crooks. Once a Brahmin lived in a small village. He made a living by performing rituals. One day, a rich merchant gave him a goat for his services. The Brahmin slung the goat over his shoulders and walked towards his home. On the way, 2 crooks saw the Brahmin. They wanted to cheat him and take away the goat. So they hid at different places and waited for him. When the Brahmin reached a lonely place, the first crook asked him, "Why are you carrying a dog?" The Brahmin was annoyed. but carried on with his journey. After a while, the second crook approached the Brahmin and asked, "Why are you carrying a donkey?" The Brahmin was scared. He thought, "Is it a goat or a ghost which is changing a form?" He hurled the goat on the roadside and ran away. The crooks took the goat and feasted on it. The Bullock, the Lion, and the Jackal. Once a villager was passing through a jungle on a bullock cart. Two bullocks were pulling the cart. Suddenly, one of the bullocks fell into a ditch. The villager failed to rescue the bullock, so he left him there and went away. After many hours, the bullock freed himself. He drank from the river and ate grass. He soon became healthy and started bellowing like a lion. When King Lion came to the river, he heard the thunder-like bellowing and was frightened. The Jackal, who was the lion's minister, discovered that it was a bullock bellowing loudly and told the lion about this. The lion befriended the bullock. Soon he stopped killing other animals. The jackal was cunning. He told the lion, "Your Majesty, the bull wants to kill you." Then he went and told the bullock, "King Lion wants to eat you." The bullock bellowed furiously outside the lion's den. King Lion thought that the bullock had come to kill him. He pounced upon the bullock. After a fierce fight, the lion killed the bullock. The cunning crane and the clever crab. There was a crane who lived near a pond full of fish. But as he was old, it was difficult for him to catch them. So he came up with a plan. Standing by the pond, he wailed, "Soon this lake will dry up, and no one will survive. I will have to live by the river instead." A crab heard him and spread word to the fish in the pond. The fish panicked, and the cunning crane offered to carry them to the river from the next morning. Every day, the crane would fly to the river carrying a fish in his beak. He would fly a distance and smash the fish against a rock and kill it. He feasted on one fish after another. One day, it was the crab's turn. The crane carried the crab on his back and flew towards the rocks. When the crab saw the fish bones lying around, he understood the crane's plan. He bit the crane on his neck and saved the lives of the other creatures in the pond. The Crows and the Snake. There lived a crow couple on a banyan tree. In the same tree there was a hole. A snake lived in it. He would climb up to the nest to eat the newly hatched babies. But Mother Crow would pick at him and drive him away. The crow couple went in search of food every day. One day, they came back to their nest. The snake had gobbled their babies. So they went to the clever fox, who told them how to get rid of the snake. The next day, the crows flew to the nearby pond where the royal woman bathed. Mother Crow stole a pearl necklace, but the king's soldiers followed her she dropped the necklace near the hole where the snake lived. When the snake crawled out, the angry soldiers killed it. The crow couple was overjoyed. Soon, Mother Crow laid eggs and waited for the babies to hatch. The monkey on the cherry tree. A monkey lived on a cherry tree by the river. One day, a crocodile asked him, "I am hungry. Please give me something to eat." The monkey gave him cherries. This went on every day, and soon they became good friends. One day, the crocodile took some cherries for his wife too. She said, "How sweet would be the heart of the monkey who eats this fruit every day." She pestered her husband to get the monkey's heart. The crocodile agreed reluctantly. The next day, he told the monkey, "Dear friend, my wife has invited you to lunch. Come, let's go." On their way, the crocodile told him the truth. The monkey said, "My heart is on the tree. Let's get it." When they reached the river bank, the monkey climbed up the tree and said, "You are unfaithful. Go away." The crocodile was ashamed. He had lost a friend. The elephant learns a lesson. There was a huge banyan tree in the jungle providing shelter to the animals. A sparrow couple lived there. Mrs. Sparrow had laid eggs. One afternoon, an evil elephant broke the branch of the tree where the sparrows lived. Their nest fell down and the eggs were broken. The sparrows went to the woodpecker, who said his friends, the fly and the frog, would help them. The next day, when the elephant was crossing the same path, the fly hummed a tune in the elephant's ear and the woodpecker poked his eyes. The elephant howled with pain. He felt the need to splash water on his face. Just then he heard the frog croaking. He followed the sound and fell into a swamp. "Please help me. What wrong have I done?" The frog reminded him about the sparrow's eggs. The elephant was sorry and promised never to do it again. The crane who was kind. Once upon a time, there lived a cunning wolf in a jungle. One day, while wandering in the forest, he found a dead lamb. While he was eating it, a bone got stuck in his throat. The wolf thought, "I need somebody's help or I will die." He went to the crane and said, "My friend, a bone is stuck in my throat. Please pull it out and I will be grateful to you all my life. I will also reward you." The crane put his head into the wolf's mouth and pulled out the bone. The crane asked, "Where is my reward?" The cunning wolf replied, "What reward? You have put your head into my mouth and I let it out safely. Isn't it a reward that you are still alive? Please go away or I'll kill you." The crane had risked his life but got nothing in return. The grocer and the rats. Once, a group of rats lived in a grocery shop. They would eat whatever they saw. The grocer was unhappy that the rats were creating havoc in the store every day. One day, he brought a cat to his shop. The cat began to kill the rats one by one. The rats were scared of the cat and hid in their holes. One day, the rats called a meeting to get rid of the cat. A young rat had a plan. He said, "Let's tie a bell around the cat's neck. Whenever she moves, the bell will jingle and we will know that she is approaching." They were discussing about how to arrange for the bell when an elderly rat sitting in a corner said, "My dear fellows, who will bell the cat?" Hearing this, all the rats sat down sadly and started to think of another plan. The washerman's silly donkey. Once there was a washerman who had a dog and a donkey. The washerman loved them both, but every evening he would play with his dog. Seeing this, the donkey wondered why he was not his master's favorite, even though he carried huge loads on his back. One day, the donkey observed the dog. When the master came back from work, the dog ran towards him. Then he barked and wagged his tail. The master patted him lovingly. The donkey decided to do the same to get his master's love. Next day, when the master came back from work, the donkey ran towards him. The master got scared. Then the donkey started to bray loudly and waved his tail. The master thought, "The donkey has gone mad." He picked up a stick and beat the donkey. Later, the donkey realized his foolishness and never tried to imitate the dog again. The cunning fox and the witty peacock. One day, a fox was roaming in search of food. After a while, he saw a peacock perched high on a tree. "How can I have this peacock for lunch? I cannot climb up the tree," he thought. The fox was cunning. He said to the peacock, "Don't you know there was a meeting of animals this morning? Animals and birds will not kill one another for food anymore." The peacock replied, "So King Lion, the tigers, and the leopards shall eat grass from today?" The fox said, "Come, let us have a chat." The peacock replied, "Sure. Some of your friends are also coming here." "Who?" asked the fox. "Hounds," said the peacock. The fox sprang up on his feet when the peacock said, "Remember, all the animals and the birds have become friends." "Maybe the hounds haven't heard about it," said the fox, and ran away deep into the forest. The three fish. In a huge lake, there lived three big fish. They were close friends. The first one believed in fate. The second one was intelligent and knew there's a solution to every problem. The third one was wise and could anticipate trouble beforehand. One day, the wise fish overheard a fisherman talking to another. "This lake seems to be full of fish." The wise fish told her friends, "Let's escape before the fishermen catch us." The intelligent fish said, "There's a canal that leads to another lake." The fish, which believed in fate, said, "Whatever has to happen will happen. I was born here, so I am not going." The other two fish left for the new lake. The fishermen came the next morning and cast their net. The third fish was trapped in it along with many others. She realized that had she acted on time, she would have been saved. The smart crow. A crow was flying in search of water on a hot summer afternoon. He couldn't find a single drop. Thirsty and tired, the crow sat on the branch of a banyan tree. Suddenly, he saw a pitcher on the other side of the tree. Delighted, the crow flew to the pitcher and saw there was some water in it. "Finally, I can quench my thirst," he thought. The crow put his beak into the pitcher, but the water level was low, so he couldn't drink it. He sat there looking around and saw some pebbles on the ground. He had a brilliant idea. The crow picked up a pebble and dropped it into the pitcher. The water level rose slightly. He dropped more pebbles one by one into the pitcher until the water level was high enough for him to drink. The smart crow quenched his thirst and flew away. The cave that spoke. A jackal lived in a cave deep in the forest. Every morning he would go out looking for food and would return in the evening. One day, an old lion hid in the cave. He thought, "Some animal lives here and is sure to return. I will eat him up." In the evening, when the jackal returned, he saw large footprints entering the cave but not leaving it. He was alarmed. After thinking for a while, he shouted, "Dear cave, why are you quiet today?" The lion thought, "Ah, this cave talks, but it's quiet today because of my presence." The jackal shouted, "If you don't welcome me like every day, I will go away forever." Fearing that he might lose his meal, the lion rolled back in greeting. The clever jackal confirmed the presence of the lion hiding in the cave. He ran away as fast as he could. The turtle who loved to talk. Two swans and a talkative turtle lived in a lake. They were close friends. In the summer, when the lake began to dry up, the swans decided to move to another lake. But the turtle could not fly, so he asked the swans to find a strong wooden stick. He said, "You hold the stick in your beaks, and I will hang on to the stick with my mouth. This way, all of us can move to the new lake." The swans said, "You are talkative. What if you open your mouth?" The turtle promised to keep quiet. Next morning, they began their journey. The turtle was amazed at the sights from above. When they flew over the lake, the turtle said, "Wow, look!" realizing too late that he should have kept quiet. Thankfully, he fell into the lake and his life was saved, but he had learned his lesson. The Mouse Who Roared. Once a sage lived in a dense forest. He had divine powers by praying to God for many years. One day, a mouse was wandering in the forest for food when he was attacked by a fox. The mouse ran to the sage to save his life, and the fox followed him. The sage transformed the mouse into a tiger. The fox sprinted away. On being transformed into a tiger, the mouse would scare and kill other animals unnecessarily. But one thought always bothered him. What if the sage turns him back into a mouse? He decided to kill the sage. He went to the sage who was meditating. But before the tiger could pounce upon the sage, he turned the tiger back into a mouse. He said, "I saved your life. Instead of showing gratitude, you wanted to kill me." The mouse realized his folly and repented his action. The Donkey and the Jackal. Once upon a time, a washerman had a donkey. He would make him carry loads of clothes, but never gave him enough food. At night, the donkey would roam around, eating whatever he could find. One night, the donkey met a jackal who took him to a field of watermelons. The donkey was happy to have a wholesome meal. After eating their fill, both friends tiptoed out of the field before the guard woke up. This happened every night. Soon the donkey became healthy. One night, after having the meal, the donkey told the jackal, "Shall I sing a song for you?" The jackal replied, "Not here. The guard will wake up." But the donkey started braying loudly. The jackal ran away. The guard woke up and bit the donkey black and blue. The donkey cried in pain and thought, "I wish I had listened to my dear friend's advice." The Jackal and the Lion. A hungry jackal was searching for food. Deep in the forest, he saw a drum under a tree. As he went near it, a twig fell on the drum. Hearing the sound, the jackal thought an animal was trapped inside the drum. He wanted to eat it. The jackal tried to tear open the top of the drum with his paws. Instead, he ended up beating it loudly, and the noise woke up King Lion. "Why are you making so much noise?" he asked. The jackal said, "Your Majesty, there is an animal inside this drum. Tear the top of the drum and have your meal." The lion was hungry, so he tore open the top of the drum, only to find it empty. King Lion roared, "You woke me up. I am hungry, and the drum is empty. I shall have you for lunch." The lion ate the jackal. The farmer and his old horse. Once there was a farmer. His horse had grown old, so he asked him to leave. The horse said, "Master, let me stay." The farmer said, "I will, but only if you bring me a lion's skin." The horse went deep into the jungle. There he met a fox who offered to help him. The fox said, "Lie down near the lion's den and play dead." Then the fox told the lion, "There's a dead horse outside your den. Have a look." The lion went to see the horse. The fox said, "I'll tie your tail to the horse's tail. Then you can drag it into the den." But the fox tied the horse's tail with the lion's leg. The horse sprinted away. On the way, the lion was slammed against rocks and he died. The horse reached the farmer's house with the lion. The farmer welcomed the horse home. The mice and the elephants. Once there lived a colony of mice in a ruined village. Daily, a herd of elephants would visit the lake in the village. On their way, the elephants would crush hundreds of mice under their feet. King Mouse met King Elephant and said, "Sir, kindly change your path. Every time your herd crosses the village, many mice are killed." King Elephant agreed. King Mouse said, "If you ever need our help, call us." The elephant took a different route to the lake from the next day. One day, a group of poachers trapped many elephants in their nets. King Elephant requested King Mouse to help him. King Mouse and his subjects set out into the forest to rescue the elephants who were trapped in huge nets. The mice nibbled at the nets and freed the elephants. The elephants were grateful to the mice for their help and they became friends. The 4 Brahmins. There were 4 Brahmin friends. After finishing their education in the Gurukul, they were ready to go back home. On their way, they had to pass through a forest. After walking a distance, they saw a pile of bones on the ground. They wanted to test their knowledge. The first Brahmin chanted a mantra and the bones turned into a huge skeleton. The second Brahmin chanted a mantra and the skeleton turned into a lion. The third Brahmin said, "The lion is lifeless. I will breathe life into it." The fourth Brahmin said, "Dear friend, the lion will kill us all." The third Brahmin laughed. "How can it kill us? We are the lion makers." The fourth Brahmin was sad that his friends had no common sense. He climbed up a tree. The third Brahmin breathed life into the lion. The lion roared. He pounced upon the three Brahmins and killed them all. The village mouse goes to town. Once there lived a mouse in a village. His friend, the town mouse, had come to visit him. The town mouse complained about the boring village life. There are big houses and many things to eat in the town, he boasted. Before leaving, the town mouse invited his friend to visit him and see his luxurious life. Soon after, the village mouse visited his town friend who lived in the kitchen of a merchant's house. They had just sat down to eat when they heard dogs barking. Both of them scurried into a hole. "What was that?" asked the village mouse. The town mouse whispered, "Those are the master's dogs." When the dogs had left, the mice resumed their dinner. The village mouse said, "Is this a luxurious life? I am much happier with simple food. I live a peaceful life without fear." Then he went back to the village. The mice that chewed iron. Once there lived a merchant in a village. One day he left for the town to start a new business. Before leaving, he requested his friend to keep a heavy iron balance until he returned. After a year, the merchant visited his friend and asked for his iron balance. The friend said, "There are many mice at my home. They ate it." The merchant knew that mice can't eat iron. While leaving, he said, "Send your son along. I will give him the gift I have brought for you." The friend agreed. The merchant took the boy and left. At night, the friend was worried as his son hadn't returned. He went to the merchant's house and asked about his son. The merchant replied, "On our way, a hawk swooped down and carried him away." The friend realized his mistake. He returned the iron balance and took his son back home. The farmer and the snake. There was a poor farmer. Although he worked hard, his fields were barren. One day, while resting under a tree, he saw a snake in a hole in the tree. He thought, "This snake must be the guardian of the field. If I serve him, my field will become fertile." The next day he brought a bowl of milk and said, "O snake, please bless me." The snake drank the milk and left him a gold coin. This went on daily. One day the farmer left for the city. He told his son, "Feed the snake daily." The son fed the snake, and when it left him a gold coin, he thought, "Tomorrow I shall kill the snake and take all the gold coins." The next day, while offering milk, he hit the snake with the stick. The snake escaped, but he bit the farmer's son and punished him for being greedy. A friend in need is a friend indeed. In a forest there lived 4 friends: a deer, a mouse, a turtle, and a crow. Every day they would meet by the lake. One day the deer did not come. When the crow flew over the forest, he found the deer trapped in a hunter's net. He came back and told the mouse and the turtle about their friend. The mouse scurried to the place and the turtle followed. The mouse freed the deer by gnawing at the net. Just then the hunter was approaching. He saw the turtle and caught him instead. The other 3 friends thought of a plan to rescue him. The hunter had reached the river bank when he saw a dead deer in his path. He put down the turtle and went to the deer. Just then the crow cawed and the deer escaped. Then he turned around to find the turtle sliding into the river. The naughty monkey. A group of monkeys was relaxing in a forest when they saw a woodcutter cutting a tree with an axe. After a while, the woodcutter went to have lunch. He covered his axe with a piece of green cloth and left it under the tree. Soon, a naughty monkey came there. He removed the cloth and picked up the axe. Then he went back to the other monkeys and began playing with it. An elderly monkey warned, "It's a dangerous tool. Don't fool around, you might get hurt." But the naughty monkey and his friends took the axe and climbed up a tree. They sat on a branch and began cutting it. They took turns cutting the branch. Soon enough, the branch fell, taking the monkeys down with it. They were hurt and began crying loudly. The elderly monkey said to them, "Had you listened to your elders, this wouldn't have happened." The monkey and the carpenter. Once, a group of monkeys lived near a temple in a village. One day, a carpenter was busy splitting wood logs outside the temple. A young monkey was intrigued by the carpenter's work. When the carpenter went for lunch, the young monkey wanted to split the wooden logs. His friend said, "Those tools look dangerous. Keep away from them." But the monkey went to the place where the wooden logs were kept. Then he opened the carpenter's bag and began looking at the different tools in it. When the carpenter finished his lunch, he was surprised to see the monkey fiddling with the tool bag. The monkey didn't know which way to run. In a fit of panic, his tail got stuck under a wooden board. The angry carpenter hit it before rescuing it. The monkey ran back to his friends, who said, "You shouldn't have meddled with other people's work." The jackal saves his meal. Deep in the jungle, a jackal found a dead elephant, but he could not pierce the elephant's thick skin and eat it. Soon a lion walked by. The jackal said, "Your Majesty, I have been guarding your meal." The lion replied, "I do not eat animals killed by others. Feast on it." The lion went away. The jackal wanted someone to pierce the elephant's skin so that he might eat it. Soon a leopard came there. The jackal said, "King Lion killed this elephant. He has gone to get his family. Feast on it until he returns." "The lion will kill me," said the leopard. The jackal said, "Go ahead and feast on it. I will signal when he is near." The leopard had barely bitten into the elephant's flesh when the jackal signaled that the lion was approaching. The leopard sprinted away. The jackal sat down and enjoyed his meal. The Partridge and the Hare. Once a partridge lived under a tree in a beautiful house. One day, while searching for food, he found a field full of grains. He stayed there, eating to his heart's content, and returned after a few weeks. While the partridge was away, a hare had occupied his house. The partridge asked him to go away. The hare said, "The house always belongs to the occupant." They fought for a long time and finally decided to go to the learned cat to solve their problem. On listening to the partridge and the hare, the cat took advantage of the situation. She said, "I am old and I cannot hear you. Come near and talk to me." When they came near, the cat said, "I can barely hear you. Come closer." The partridge and the hare kept going nearer and nearer. At last, the cat pounced on them and ate them up. The Little Camel with a Bell. Once there was a villager who had many camels. He would sell their milk for a living. There was a baby camel he was particularly fond of. The camels went grazing in a jungle every day, but the baby camel would stray away. He had a habit of roaming around everywhere. Since the villager was worried for him, he tied a bell around his neck. One day, the baby camel got lost. Wandering in the jungle, he reached the lion's den. But the lion was sleeping. Meanwhile, The villager had set out into the jungle looking for the baby camel. He listened to the bell jingling and followed the sound. Soon he found the baby camel near the den. The villager quietly picked him up and rushed back home. On returning home, he told the baby camel, "Be with your elders wherever you go." The baby camel promised to listen to his elders. The flea and the bug. Once upon a time, there lived a flea in a king's bed. She fed on his blood and was happy and content. One day, a bug entered the king's bedroom. The flea said, "You cannot stay here. Leave immediately." The bug said, "I am just a guest. Once I have a taste of the king's blood, I shall go away." The flea replied, "I feed only when the king is sleeping. Remember not to hurt him with your teeth." But the bug was an impatient sort. As soon as the king got ready to sleep, the bug bit him. The king called out to his attendants. He said, "Something bit me. It could be a bug or a flea." The bug hid under the king's mattress. The flea thought, "I shouldn't have allowed the bug to stay here." Meanwhile, the king's servants found the flea behind the linens and killed her. The poor Brahmin's dream. A poor Brahmin lived in a village. He used to beg for alms and kept it in a pot beside his cot. One day, a rich merchant gave him a pot of cooked rice. He ate a little and kept the rest near his cot. Then, with his eyes on the pot, he fell asleep. Soon he began dreaming. He dreamt that there was a famine in the village. He sold the pot of rice for 100 silver coins, with which he bought buffaloes and cows. He sold their milk, curd, and butter. Soon he was a rich man with a palatial house. The cattle had a separate shed, but a cow entered his house and dirtied the floor. Still dreaming, the Brahmin picked up a stick and hit the cow. Just then he woke up. He had picked up the stick near his cot and broken the pot. The two-headed bird. Once there lived a strange bird in the forest. He had 2 heads. One day the bird found a rare golden fruit by the lake. The left head began eating the fruit when the right head tweeted, "The fruit looks tempting. Let me have a taste of it too." The left head tweeted haughtily, "Since we share one stomach, it makes no difference who eats it. I found this fruit, so I will eat it." The right head wanted to teach the left head a lesson. A few days later, the right head found a tree with poisonous fruit. He tweeted, "This fruit looks delicious." The left head tweeted, "It's poisonous. We will die since we share the same stomach." The right head tweeted, "I found it, so I will eat it." The left head pleaded, but the right head ate the fruit. As a result, the bird was dead. The Owl and the Swan. Deep in the jungle, there was a lake. A swan lived there. One day, an owl saw the beautiful surroundings of the lake. He decided to stay there. Soon, the owl befriended the swan. During the hot summer, the lake dried up. The owl said, "Dear friend, I'm going back to the banyan tree by the river. Do visit me." Some weeks later, the swan decided to visit the owl. After a long flight, he reached the owl's home at sunset. The owl welcomed the swan and offered him delicious dishes. The swan was tired and went to sleep on the branches of the banyan tree near the owl. At night, a merchant rested under the banyan tree. When the owl hooted, he said angrily, "Unlucky bird, I'll kill you." He drew a bow and shot an arrow at the owl. The owl ducked, but the arrow hit the swan and he died. King Cobra and the Mighty Ants. Once there was a large cobra who lived in a hole in the tree. He ate frogs, lizards, and birds' eggs. All the small creatures were afraid of him. He would hunt them at night and creep into his hole in the morning. As he grew in size, he could no longer fit into the hole and had to look for a new home. The cobra found a large hole in a banyan tree, but there was an anthill at the base of the tree. He stood there and screamed, "King Cobra wants to live here. Leave this place at once." The animals and birds nearby began to tremble with fear. But the ants were not scared. They had worked hard to build their home. In no time, they came in thousands and swarmed around the cobra, attacking him. The cobra wriggled in pain and slithered away, never to return. The Prince and the Sage. Once there was a wise and generous king who had an ill-mannered son. One day a sage visited the king. The king welcomed him and offered him a hermitage near the palace. One day the king visited the hermitage and said, "My son is ill-mannered. Please change his ways so that he may be a worthy successor to the throne." The sage took the prince for a walk in the royal gardens. The sage pointed to a small plant and said, "Taste a leaf of this plant." The prince tasted a leaf and spat it out. He said, "It's bitter. It will grow into a poisonous tree." Then he pulled out the plant and threw it away. The sage said, "The subjects of your kingdom might not want you as the king. A humble person can win the hearts of everyone." The prince thanked the sage and changed for the better. The Shivering Monkeys. Once there lived a group of unruly monkeys in the mountains. They thought no one else was so wise as they. During winter, a young monkey said, "Let's make a fire." He had seen some people lighting a fire with twigs and red balls. The monkey mistook the burning coal for red berries. He went in search of them. After a while, he returned with twigs and some huge red berries. All the monkeys gathered around him. He placed the berries under the twigs, but nothing happened. A flock of birds was watching them from a distance. One of the birds said, "How can you make fire from berries?" The young monkey said angrily, "Don't meddle in our affairs." But the bird kept on advising the monkeys. The young monkey caught the bird and smashed it against a tree. The other bird said, "It's no use offering advice to fools." The elephant and the florist. There was an elephant in a village. All the villagers loved him. The elephant would visit the temple daily. On the way, he would stop at the florist's shop, who would give him a garland. The elephant would then visit the temple and offer the garland to the deity's idol. The people loved to watch the elephant worshipping in the temple. One day, the florist was in a bad mood. When the elephant came on his usual rounds, he pricked the elephant's trunk with a needle instead of offering him a garland. The elephant was angry because the florist had punished him for no reason. He went to a canal nearby and filled his trunk with dirty water. Then he went to the florist and drenched him and all his garlands with the dirty water. The florist realized his mistake but had to pay a heavy price for his misbehavior. The loyal mongoose. A Brahmin lived with his wife and baby boy in a village. One day, the Brahmin brought a mongoose with him. He told his wife, "This pet will be our child's companion. Treat it like our own son." His wife took great care of the mongoose. One day, the Brahmin and his wife went to the temple. The child was sleeping at home and the mongoose was guarding him. After they had left, a snake entered their house, but the mongoose killed it and saved the child's life. Soon, the Brahmin's wife entered the house. She saw the mongoose with bloodstains near his mouth and thought he had harmed her son. So she hit him with a heavy box and killed him. Then she entered the child's room and saw that he was sound asleep. Only when she saw the dead snake did she realize her mistake, but it was too late. The holy man and his money. A holy man lived in a temple. Many devotees would offer him money, garments, and gold. The holy man sold these and became rich. He kept his purse with him always and never trusted anyone. A swindler wanted to rob the holy man. He went to the holy man and said, "Sir, please accept me as your disciple." The holy man agreed. The swindler pretended to be very humble, and the holy man was impressed. One day, a disciple from a nearby village invited the holy man to his house. Accompanied by the swindler, the holy man left for the neighboring village. On the way, they saw a river. The holy man said, "Son, stay here and guard my robe while I have a bath." When the holy man returned, the swindler had vanished with his money. He realized that he had lost everything because he had trusted a stranger. The camel in the lion's den. King Lion lived in the forest with his advisors, a crow, a fox, and a leopard. The lion would hunt for food and share it with his advisors. One day, a camel lost his way and reached the lion's den. He said, "Please don't kill me." The lion said, "All right, you can live with us." The camel lived there happily. One day, the lion was wounded in battle. He became weak and stopped hunting. The leopard and the fox couldn't hunt enough food for everyone. Sometimes they returned empty-handed. It was difficult for them to survive without food. One evening, the fox went to the lion and said, "Your Majesty, please eat me and save your life." The lion said, "No, I cannot kill you." Then came the leopard, but the lion refused to eat him. The camel thought, "The lion loves them, so he refuses to kill them. I should offer myself too." But when the camel offered himself, all the animals killed him. He lost his life by making a foolish offer. The greedy friend. Once there lived 4 friends in a village. They were very poor. One morning, they met a sage praying near a river. They told him about their suffering. The sage gave them a stone each and said, "Walk towards the Himalayas. Dig wherever the stone drops." The 4 friends began their journey. After a while, the stone dropped from the first friend's hand. They dug the spot and found a chest of copper coins. After some days, the second friend's stone dropped. There they found a chest of silver coins. Soon the third friend's stone dropped, and they found a chest of gold coins. 3 of them said, "We have got what we were looking for, and there is enough for us to share. Let's return home." But the 4th friend wanted to continue. The other 3 friends left. After many days, the 4th friend, weary and hungry, saw a man with the wheel spinning on his head. He asked, "Why are you standing here with the wheel on your head?" No sooner had he spoken than the wheel shifted to the 4th friend's head. He felt miserable and his feet were stuck. He asked the man to remove the wheel. "This wheel of greed shall remain on your head until someone greedy reaches here searching for wealth," said the man as he walked away. The foolish donkey and the fox. In a dense forest, there lived many animals. King Lion had grown old and could not hunt anymore. so he appointed a fox for the job. The fox went hunting and he found a donkey. The cunning fox said to the donkey, "The king wants you as his adviser." The donkey did not believe the fox, but the fox convinced the donkey to meet the lion. The donkey followed the fox to the lion's den, but when the donkey caught sight of the lion, he ran away. The lion was angry. He told the fox, "Bring back the donkey, or I shall kill you." The fox rushed out and found the frightened donkey. He told the donkey, "The king didn't want to kill you. Don't lose this opportunity to be his adviser." The donkey went into the lion's den, and the lion pounced on him and killed him. The fox advised the lion to have a bath before enjoying his meal. The lion left the den. The fox was hungry, so he ate the donkey's brain. When the lion returned, he asked the fox, "Where is the donkey's brain?" The fox said, "The donkey didn't have one. Why else would he enter your den twice?" The camel ride. There were two friends, a camel and a jackal. One afternoon, they were passing by a watermelon field. The jackal and the camel feasted on the watermelons. After having their fill, the jackal began howling. "Dear friend, don't howl. The farmer will hear us," said the camel. The jackal replied, "Singing after meals is good. It helps digest food." The farmer heard the jackal howling. Soon he rushed towards the friends with a stick. Seeing this, the jackal sprinted away. The farmer hit the camel black and blue. One day, the camel went swimming in a lake. He offered the jackal a ride on his back. Once in the lake, the camel dived under the water. The jackal said, "Please stop diving or I will be drowned." The camel replied, "Diving is good because it helps build muscles." Then he took a dive again, and the jackal was left panting helplessly. The hen goes wild. Once a falcon befriended a farmer's hen. The falcon would perch on the mango tree in the farmer's courtyard every evening. One day he said to the hen, "Pardon me, Mrs. Hen, but aren't you being ungrateful?" The hen was angry. She said, "Why do you think so? What have I done?" The falcon said, "The farmer feeds you every day with the choicest of grains, yet you fly from corner to corner when he comes to catch you. Although I live in the wild, yet I am always grateful to those who show me even a little bit of kindness." The hen thought for a moment and replied, "Dear Mr. Falcon, would you feel grateful if you saw falcons being roasted by the people? I have seen many hens being cooked over fire. I fly from corner to corner, but had you been me, you would have flown from hill to hill." The Bear's Secret. Two friends, Govind and Raghav, set out to explore a nearby forest on a beautiful sunny afternoon. While on their way, they promised to protect each other from danger. They had reached the middle of the forest when suddenly a bear came running towards them. Govind climbed a nearby tree to save his life. Raghav, who was still in shock, lay down and acted as if he had been dead. The bear began smelling Raghav. Then, with a little growl, he went over to his ear as if he had been whispering a secret. Raghav had a tough time staying still. After some time, when the bear was convinced that Raghav was dead, he walked away and disappeared into the thicket. Govind climbed down the tree and asked Raghav, "What did the bear tell you?" Raghav replied, "He advised me to keep away from selfish friends who disappear when danger is near." The flattering fox and the foolish crow. A hungry crow sat on the window sill of a kitchen where a woman was preparing breakfast. As soon as the woman left, the crow swooped in and snatched a piece of cheese. She then flew to a nearby forest and perched on a tree with the cheese in her beak. A fox saw this. He wanted to have the cheese, so he came up with a plan. "Good morning, Miss Crow," said the fox, but the crow took no notice. The clever fox decided to flatter the crow. He said, "You look charming today." Again, the crow did not reply. The fox flattered the crow some more. "O Queen of Birds, would you grace this forest with your sweet voice and sing a song?" The flattered crow opened her beak to sing a song, but alas, the cheese fell on the ground and the fox sprinted away with it. The quarreling cats. There was half a loaf of bread lying near a house. A cat saw it. The moment he was about to eat it, another cat pounced on it. The first cat said, "I saw it first, so I will eat it." The second cat said, "No, I saw it first, so I will have it all." A monkey was observing them from a distance. He said to them, "Stop quarreling. You both can have it. Let me divide it into equal halves," he said. He broke the chunk of bread. One piece was bigger than the other, so he bit into it to make them equal. Then he saw that the other piece was bigger, so he bit into it. He continued doing this until there was no bread left. "Alas, there is no bread left for you," he said. The cats had lost their meal to the cunning monkey. The greedy lioness. Once a lioness saw a rabbit sleeping under a bush. She crept slowly towards him and caught him in her paws. The poor rabbit was taken aback. The lioness was just about to eat him when she saw a stag nearby. The stag is far bigger than the rabbit, and I can have a wholesome meal if I kill it instead, thought the lioness. She let go of the rabbit and chased the stag. The rabbit ran for his life and hid in his burrow. The lioness ran after the stag for a long time, but he was too fast for her. After a while, he disappeared into the forest and she could not catch him. The lioness had already lost the rabbit, and now the stag was gone too. She realized her mistake and said to herself, "Had I eaten the rabbit, I wouldn't have had to stay hungry." The kind deer. Once upon a time, a saint was reborn as a deer. He lived in a huge forest. The animals in the forest admired him as he was very cheerful. One afternoon, a prince was riding through the forest. He saw the deer grazing nearby. "What a beautiful animal!" he exclaimed. The prince began chasing the deer. He chased him for a long time. The prince was riding fast near a river when his horse neighed loudly and the prince was thrown off balance. He fell into the river. The prince did not know how to swim, so he began shouting for help. The deer heard him and ran towards him. He dragged the prince out of the water and saved his life. Though the prince wanted to kill the deer, yet it was the deer who saved the prince from danger. The prince promised never to kill any animal ever again. The squirrel and the drums. A hungry squirrel was searching for food. Suddenly, he heard strange noises from a field nearby. The noises scared him and he wanted to run away from there. But he thought, "Let me see where this noise is coming from." The squirrel followed the sounds until he reached two drums lying under a huge tree. Again, he heard the strange noises. Frightened, he climbed up the tree. Hiding behind the trunk of the tree, he watched. Whenever the branches swayed in the wind or a fruit would fall on the drums, there would be a strange noise. The squirrel went near the drums and climbed all over them. Nothing strange happened, so he was no longer afraid. Looking at the little fruits lying all around the drums, he scuttled down happily. Not only had the squirrel overcome his fear, but by a stroke of luck he had also found his lunch. The clever boatman. One day, a rich merchant said to a boatman, "I'll make you very rich, but you have to ferry my belongings safely to the other side of the river." The boatman agreed. The merchant had a lion, a goat, and a bundle of grass. If the boatman took the grass first, the lion would kill the goat. If he took the lion first, the goat would eat the bundle of grass in his absence. So he took the goat on his boat first. After leaving it on the other side, he took the lion next. He left the lion on the other side and brought the goat with him. Then he left the goat on this side and took the bundle of grass to the other side. Leaving the lion with the grass, he returned to fetch the goat last. The merchant was happy. He rewarded the boatman handsomely. The braying tiger. There was once a washerman who had a donkey. The washerman was poor, so he could not feed his donkey. One day, the washerman was passing through a forest when he saw a tiger fast asleep. Soon he realized that the tiger was dead. He had an idea. He reached home with the tiger's skin. At night, the washerman put the tiger's skin on the donkey and whispered in the donkey's ear, "Go and graze on the farmer's fields all night. He will mistake you for a tiger. He will be too scared to chase you away." The donkey grazed in the farmer's fields every night. One night, the donkey was busy eating the farmer's crops when he heard the cry of a female donkey in the distance. Immediately, he brayed in response. The farmer found out. He thrashed the donkey for pretending to be what he was not. The rabbit hunter. There was a cruel hunter. He was fond of rabbit meat. Every day he would hunt a rabbit for lunch. One afternoon he caught a rabbit and was walking towards his home. On the way, he came across a saint. The saint said, "Son, let go of the rabbit. God will bless you for this kind of deed." The hunter replied, "Who are you to teach me about God? I will do as I please. I will kill this rabbit right here. Look." Saying so, he pulled out a large knife. The saint pleaded not to do so, but the hunter pushed him away. As the hunter sat down to slit the rabbit's throat, the knife slipped and cut his foot instead. He clutched his foot and cried out in pain, and the rabbit escaped. The hunter was injured and he could not walk properly ever again, let alone hunt rabbits. The trickster. A crow was walking on the beach looking for food. He watched as the waves washed an oyster on the shore. He began pecking at it with his beak to break it open and eat the meat inside, but the oyster didn't open. Then he jumped on it, but the shell was too hard. It did not open. A cunning crow went up to him and said, "The oyster will not open even if you throw a stone at it. Let me share a trick with you. Fly high up and drop the oyster from above. The shell will break instantly." The hungry crow flew up in the air and dropped the oyster onto the rocks below. The cunning crow had been waiting for this moment. As soon as the shell broke, he scooped the meat in his beak and ate it, leaving the shell for the other crow. The bell in the jungle. In a village there was a huge tower. It had a bell that rang every noon. One day a thief stole the bell. He was passing through the forest nearby when he saw a tiger. In his fright, the bell slipped from his hands and he ran away. Several monkeys lived near the place where the bell had fallen. Soon they discovered its melodious sound. They would ring it every night, scaring all the villagers. A brave woman decided to find out the truth. She left for the forest with some fruits. I will eat these during the day and return in the evening, she thought. In the forest, she saw the monkeys ringing the bell. She placed the fruits under a tree and hid behind it. When the monkeys ran towards the fruits, the woman took the bell and returned home. The villagers thanked her for her intelligence and courage. Mother Frog puffs up. One morning, Mother Frog went looking for food. Her babies were playing near a pool. Soon, a donkey came to the pool to drink water. He accidentally stepped on 2 baby frogs and they died. The third baby frog hid near a hedge by the pool. After some time, the donkey went away. When Mother Frog came home, she asked where the other babies had gone. The baby frog said, "Mother, a monster killed them with his foot." Mother Frog was angry. "I will teach him a lesson." "How big was he?" "As big as me?" she asked. "No, Mother, much bigger," came the reply. Mother Frog took a deep breath and puffed herself up with all her might and asked, "This big?" The baby frog said, "No, Mother, bigger." Mother Frog went on puffing up. She was trying to grow as big as the donkey, but it was impossible. The Food Thief. In a forest, there lived a jackal. He stole food from a village nearby. The villagers were tired of looking for the thief but could not find him. One night, when the jackal went to steal food, he saw that the villagers were still looking for him. The jackal stole some food and waited for some time. Soon he saw a holy man coming his way. The jackal said to him, "Kind man, I am sick. Please carry me to the forest in your bag." The holy man agreed and carried the jackal in his bag. Before they could enter the forest, the jackal hid the food in the holy man's bag and slid out of it. As he slipped away into the darkness, he shouted, "The man with the bag is the food thief." The villagers mistook the holy man for a thief. One should never trust others blindly. The hermit's advice. There was a poisonous snake in a forest. Whenever wicked people would make fun of him, he would bite them. One day, a hermit came to meditate in the forest. He asked the snake not to bite anyone. The snake was mesmerized by the hermit's supernatural powers and agreed. Some time later, the hermit left for another place. He said to the snake, "Remember what I have taught you and be good. Many months later, when the hermit returned to the tree, he saw that the snake was almost dead. "What happened to you, my child?" he asked. "Master, some wicked people threw stones at me. I stopped biting because you had said so. Now I am injured and weak," the snake replied. The hermit said, "I had asked you to stop biting, but there was no harm in scaring away the wicked people to protect yourself," said the hermit. The donkey's fall. A man was traveling by a cart which was being pulled by his donkey. They were riding on rough roads. Suddenly, the donkey broke free from the cart. He was so excited with his new found freedom that he ran without direction. His master called him back, but the donkey did not pay heed. Before the donkey knew it, he had reached the edge of a cliff. There was a steep valley below. The donkey was happily looking at the sky, unaware of the danger in front of him. He was just about to step forward when the master reached him and caught him by the tail. But the donkey struggled to break free. The master tried to save the donkey, but the donkey was adamant. So the master let go of the donkey, saying, "You want to be your own master? Go your own way." The donkey jumped into the valley. The royal cure. Once there was a king. Some of his elephants were wounded. So he sent a messenger to fetch the royal vet. It was a hot day, and on the way to the palace, the vet lay down under a tree. He had barely closed his eyes when a crow's droppings fell on his cheek. He was angry. "Silly birds, I will kill you all," he screamed. The royal vet reached the palace and told the king, "Your Majesty, the elephant's wounds will heal only if a medicine made of crow's fat is applied on them." The king ordered his men to kill all the crows. The king's soldiers had killed many crows when the chief of crows flew to the palace to plead for mercy. He told the king, "Your Majesty, please spare our lives. Crows do not have fat." The king realized the truth and punished the royal vet. The power of prayer. There lived a pious fish in a lake. Many marine animals lived there happily. Once there was a severe drought and the lake was drying up. Many fish and other animals died while others lay dying. The pious fish felt sorry for his fellow beings in the lake. He would have to act soon or they would all be dead. The fish reached the surface of the little water that was still in the lake and began praying. He cried, "Dear Lord, have mercy. Please send us rain and end our misery. This drought has claimed many lives. Send us rain, O Lord." Such was the piteous cry of the fish that it reached God's ears. His heart was filled with compassion, and it rained heavily. With the heavy rain, the lake was full again. There is tremendous power in sincere prayer, and it can change the world around us. Lightning strikes. A monkey named Hanu lived in a forest on a banyan tree with his old mother and father. Hanu was a dutiful son. Hanu's mother was blind. He was always waiting nearby to help her. They were living a peaceful life until a hunter came that way. He wanted to kill Hanu's mother. Hanu jumped from the tree and pleaded with the hunter, "Dear sir, please do not kill my mother. Kill me instead." The hunter was a cruel man. He said, "Foolish little monkey, why did you come near me? Now I shall kill you both." The hunter shot Hanu and his mother. On returning home, he saw a huge pile of ashes where his little hut used to be. A neighbor told him, "Lightning struck and your hut caught fire. All your family members perished in it." The cruel hunter had been punished by God for killing innocent creatures. The Hare on the Moon. There was a pious hare who lived in a forest. He prayed every day. Once there was a festival which involved fasting and offering food to guests. The hare had no delicacies to offer his guest, so he decided to offer himself as food. Then he lit a bonfire. God learned about the hare's pledge and wanted to test him. He appeared in front of the hare, disguised as a hermit, and pretended to be hungry. "I am tired and hungry, son. Have you anything for me to eat?" he asked. The saintly hare said, "Indeed, sir. Please accept me." Then he jumped into the fire. God was so happy that he brought the hare back to life. God said to the hare, "From this day on, you will also have a place in the sky." That is why, even to this day, we can see the hare on the moon. The Monk's Counsel. There was once a sage who found a baby elephant in a forest. He took her home and cared for her like his own daughter. He named her Lakshmi. The sage had to leave for the village one day. He bought basketfuls of bananas before he left. When Lakshmi was angry, she ate one basket of bananas, then another and another. Soon all the baskets were empty. When the sage returned, he saw Lakshmi lying on the ground. Her belly was swollen. The sage wandered in the forest looking for help. There he saw a monk. The monk advised, "It is your attachment to the elephant that is causing you grief. Here, take this powder and rub it on her head." The sage went back home and did as the monk said. Lakshmi was fine again. But the sage had realized the truth of his life and he overcame his attachment. From rags to riches. A dead mouse lay on the roadside. A poor young man stood there looking at it. Just then, the royal adviser was passing by. He said, "That dead mouse can make you wealthy." The young man took the mouse to a grocer. The grocer fed it to his cat and gave the man a copper coin. The man bought many flowers with the coin and sold it to a priest for a huge amount. He sold more flowers for some time and grew rich. Then he opened a cloth shop. The young man gifted 500 coins to the royal adviser, whose remark had made him rich. The royal adviser was so impressed with the man's hard work that he asked his daughter to marry the young man. The man was no longer an ordinary person. He was now the royal adviser's son-in-law. Hard work has its own sweet rewards. The Snake Man. A Brahmin's wife gave birth to a son, but the child turned out to be a snake. They showered him with love and affection. When the snake grew up, the Brahmin and his wife married their son to a young lady amid grand celebrations. Soon something new happened. The snake would turn into a young man every night. By morning, he would become a snake again. One night, the Brahmin peeped in through the window and saw the snake's body lying on the ground. A young man was chatting with his daughter-in-law. He understood everything. Quickly, he went into the room, picked up the snake's body, and burnt it. The man said to his father, "I was born as a snake due to a curse. Thanks for burning the snake's body and freeing me from the curse." The young man never became a snake again, and they all lived happily ever after. The Proud Peacock. There was a lake in a forest. It was surrounded by beautiful trees and bushes. A peacock lived near the lake. He had beautiful feathers, and he looked at his reflection on the surface of the lake water every day. One day, a crane came there searching for food. The lake was full of fish and he was hungry. The proud peacock began to spread his tail and said to the crane, "Look at me. My feathers are so beautiful, not plain and boring like yours." The crane looked at the peacock for a while and said, "True, my friend, you look beautiful." The peacock boasted, "There is no one like me in this forest." The crane replied, "What's the use of beautiful feathers that don't help you to fly? My feathers are plain, but I can fly wherever I want to." The peacock was silent. He had learned a lesson in humility. The Rams and the Wolf. There was once a wolf who lived in a forest on the hills. One day he was wandering in search of food when he came across a meadow. Two rams were fighting there. He hid behind some bushes and watched them. If both the rams die fighting, I will have food for at least a few days, he thought. Meanwhile, the rams continued to lock horns. They would go back a few steps and rush ahead, smashing their heads against each other. The rams kept fighting, and the wolf watched as they wounded each other. The wolf was growing impatient. He thought, the rams must be tired after fighting for so long. I will kill one of them and deal with the other after my meal. He went near the rams and poked his head between them, but he was crushed between the strong rams. The foolish wolf died instantly. The hunter's messenger. A hunter went to the forest one day. He was a skilled archer, and all the animals were afraid of him. They ran away and hid in burrows and dens whenever they saw him. But a tiger was feeling very brave that day. He decided to stay back and fight with the hunter. The hunter asked the tiger, "Why are you standing there? Isn't your life dear to you?" The tiger replied, "I am not afraid of you." "All right then, let my messenger deal with you," said the hunter. He pulled out his bow and arrow and shot the tiger, who growled in pain before limping away into the forest. A jackal saw him and asked, "Why did you run away?" The tiger replied, "If a messenger can wound me so badly, think of what the hunter can do to me. It is not wise to go near dangerous people." The Big Fat Hen. An old woman lived in a little hut in a village. She had a little red hen. The woman loved her hen very much. Every day she would feed the hen mixed corn and let her out in the courtyard. The hen would walk around pecking at bugs and insects. Then she would lay an egg in the straw nest under the mango tree. She laid an egg every day. The old woman would sell the egg at the local market for a good price. One evening, the old woman thought, "If I feed the hen twice as much, she will lay 2 eggs every day. Then I will become rich." She fed the hen more and more corn every day, but the red hen only grew big and fat until one day she stopped laying eggs altogether. The old woman repented her miscalculations. Things don't always go as planned. The Cunning Fox. There was once a fox. He saw a doe grazing nearby. He rushed to a mouse and a leopard, and they hatched a plan to kill the doe. First, the mouse distracted the doe by nibbling at her hoof. Then the leopard pounced on the doe and killed her. The fox said, "It's not good to eat without having a bath. I bathed in the morning. Now go and have a bath," he said. The mouse and the leopard left for the river. When the leopard returned, the fox said, "The mouse feels that we caught the doe only because of his help. The leopard was angry and he refused to eat the dough. He went away. When the mouse came there, the fox said, "I defeated the leopard in a fight and he ran away. Now it's your turn." The mouse scampered away. The sly fox ate the dough all by himself. The sour grapes. Once upon a lovely morning, there was a hungry fox. He wandered far and wide, searching for something to eat, but couldn't find anything. At last, he came to a beautiful vineyard full of juicy grapes. All around, bunches and bunches of grapes hung high on the vines. The fox smacked his lips and thought, "These fruits look tasty. I must have them." The fox sat there for a while, admiring the grapes and the vineyard. The grapes were out of his reach, so he jumped in an attempt to catch hold of the ripe grapes. But he could not reach them. He jumped higher and higher, but the grapes always remained out of reach. After a while, he grew tired of jumping. Then he mumbled to himself, "Who wants to eat sour grapes? Certainly not me." The fox walked away. It's easy to hate things that are out of reach. The cruel wolf. A wolf was drinking water from a brook in a forest. A lamb came there and started to drink water too. The wolf wanted to eat the lamb. The wolf said, "Why are you drinking from this brook? Don't you know the water is getting muddy because of you?" The lamb replied, "Sir, how can that be? The brook is flowing from your side." The wolf said, "All right, but why did you call me names?" The innocent lamb said, "I haven't uttered a word against you, sir." "Oh, really? And how do you explain your rudeness to me last year?" asked the wolf. The lamb said, "Last year? I wasn't even born," cried the lamb. "It must have been your mother then. You will pay for her mistakes," said the wolf, and pounced on the lamb and killed him. The cruel always find an excuse to oppress the innocent. The lion hunter. One day, a hunter went into the forest. He kept walking until he was deep in the woods. There, he heard a tapping sound. He followed the sound and saw a woodcutter at work. The woodcutter was cutting trees with an axe. The hunter went near him and said, "Have you seen a lion around here, friend?" The woodcutter replied, "I haven't seen a lion, but I've seen its pug marks nearby. It means the lion should be somewhere near. Come, let me show you where I saw them." The hunter followed the woodcutter through the rows of trees, but suddenly backed off. His forehead was sweating and he was in a state of panic. He said to the woodcutter, "Thanks, I'm happy just to hear about the lion's pug marks." Then the hunter walked away as fast as his legs could carry him. Cowards act like heroes from a distance. Brains above beauty. A cheetah and a fox lived in a forest. They were close friends. They would always hunt together and roam around the forest together. One day, they were walking along the banks of a river when the cheetah caught his reflection in the water. "I have a beautiful coat. Look at my spots. I look handsome," he said. "You may be handsome, but I am no less. Look at my bushy tail," said the fox. The cheetah said, "I am more handsome than you. See how my velvety coat shines in the sun." They continued talking in this manner until it turned into an argument. The cheetah went on saying that he looked more handsome because of his spots. At last the fox gave up. He said, "Yes, you are more handsome than me, but I am smarter than you. A smart mind is more important than a handsome body." The dog bite. A man was walking down the street one day. Suddenly, a dog ran towards him and bit him on his leg. The man cried out in pain and shooed him away before he could cause more harm. Then he went to the doctor. On the way back home, he met a friend who asked him why he looked so sad. When the man said he had been bitten by a dog, his friend offered him advice. "I know of a method that can cure the dog bite once and for all. Buy a loaf of bread from a shop, dab it on your wound and throw it near the dog," said the friend. The man who was bitten said, "No, my friend, if I follow your advice, all the dogs of the town will rush to bite me." Those who have overcome their enemies don't need more of them. The sad lion. Once there was an old lion. He had grown weak and he could not hunt. Soon he had nothing to eat and he grew weaker every day. He was unable to move and he lay quietly in his den. A boar entered his den one day. Finding the lion helpless, he hit him with his tusk and went away. The lion lay quiet, unable to move. The next day, a bull entered the lion's den. He hit the lion with his horns to satisfy his grudge. Then he went away. The lion suffered in silence. The next day, a donkey was passing by the lion's den. He saw that the lion was lying there helpless. He kicked the lion. The lion said, "The boar and the bull hit me, and I survived, but I am dying twice in the knowledge that a foolish creature like you is able to hurt me." The bragging bear. One day, a bear and a fox met in the jungle. They usually met every other day and chatted about all things under the sun. This time they were discussing about the human race. The bear was bragging about how much he liked humans. I have immense respect for humans and love them a lot, he said. The fox said, "They are selfish. Remember that hunter in a leopard's skin?" The bear replied, "Well, I'm not afraid of human beings at all. I have befriended many of them. They are not scared of me and consider me a friend," said the bear. The fox was listening to the bear without blinking an eye. Then the bear said, "I don't harm humans even when they are dead." Then the fox said, "It's good that you respect humans, but you should never wait for someone to die so that you may show respect." No fear when familiar. A fox was roaming near some bushes. Suddenly, he saw a huge animal with a bushy mane. When the animal roared loudly, the fox almost fainted. He was dizzy and ran away as fast as his legs could carry him. On the way, he met a squirrel and told him what had happened. The squirrel laughed and said, "That's our king, the lion." After a few days, the fox saw the lion again, but he did not faint. He saw the lion from a distance and then walked away. When the fox met the lion for the third time, he saw the lion and greeted him. "Good morning, Your Majesty," he said. The lion smiled at him. Then the fox met the lion again. He went up to him and spoke to him. He was no longer afraid of the lion. With each meeting, the lion seemed more familiar. Familiarity brings courage. The rooster and the ring. There was a rooster who lived with a farmer. Every day, the farmer would feed him grains. Once, the farmer had to leave for the neighboring village. He left his rooster with his neighbor. "Please feed him while I am away," said the farmer. But the neighbor let the rooster roam around the backyard without feeding him anything. The rooster was hungry and he went around pecking at the ground eating insects. He scratched the soil while looking for seeds to eat. Just then, he found a gold ring studded with a diamond. The rooster looked at it for a long time and thought, "This precious ring can make anyone rich, but I cannot eat it. I am hungry, and a bowl of corn is more precious than a handful of jewels right now." He tossed the ring away and began digging elsewhere. Precious things matter only if they are useful. The clever little lamb. A shepherd lived at the foot of a hill. He had many sheep and they would graze in the meadows. There was a little lamb among them. One day, while grazing, he lost his way and entered the forest. There a fox chased him. The lamb ran away. Soon a jackal saw him Just as the jackal was about to pounce on him, the lamb gave him the slip. Next, he met a wolf. The wolf said, "Be not afraid. Let me take you to a safe place." The wolf led the lamb to a temple and said, "Stay here until I return." The lamb hid in the temple. After some time, the wolf returned. He planned to eat the lamb, so he called out to him and said, "Come away, sweet lamb, or the priest will kill you." The lamb said, "I prefer dying for God than falling prey to you." The donkey who wanted to sing. A donkey was grazing in a pasture when he heard the droning of grasshoppers. He was fascinated with the sound. He listened for a while. Then he tried to imitate the sound but couldn't. Next day, when the donkey went to the pasture, he heard the grasshoppers droning. He decided to meet them. He went to the place where they all sat droning and said, "Dear friends, you have such a lovely voice. You sing so beautifully. I want to sing like you." One of them said, "We can't be like you, and you can't be like us. The Creator has made us all different." But the donkey insisted, "What do you eat that makes you sing so melodiously?" The grasshopper said, "We live on dewdrops." The donkey started drinking dewdrops from that day on, but he soon died of hunger. One man's medicine is another man's poison. Toothless love. A woodcutter went to the forest every day to cut wood. Occasionally, he was accompanied by his daughter. Once, a lion saw the woodcutter's daughter from a distance. He fell in love with her. Next day, he went to the woodcutter's house and asked for her hand in marriage. The woodcutter was shocked and scared of the lion. He could not move. When he had mustered enough courage, he said, "We feel honored that you chose to marry my daughter. But my daughter doesn't like your claws and teeth. She thinks you will look more handsome without them." The lion was so much in love with the girl that he got rid of his claws and teeth. Then he went to the woodcutter happily thinking that he would now be able to marry his daughter. The woodcutter was not scared of the lion anymore. He kicked out the lion immediately. The lion cooks too. Once there was a lion. While wandering outside his den in search of prey, he saw a bull grazing nearby. The bull was huge and he had strong muscles. The lion wanted to eat the bull, so he came up with a plan to kill him. He said to the bull, "I am cooking stew with the choicest of roots and juicy vegetables. Be my guest today. Let's share a meal." The lion asked the bull to enter his den. The lion thought he would pounce on the bull as soon as he would sit down to eat. Inside the den, the bull saw a large cauldron of boiling water. There were no vegetables around. He understood that the lion was preparing to cook him. The bull turned around and walked out of the den. The lion called him, but he did not come back. The lion's trick had failed. The Healing Frog. A frog who lived in a swamp had a dream that he had received miraculous powers to heal everyone. He was very happy. He told his wife, "My dear, I have got magical powers. I can heal anybody." His wife said, "That's a great piece of news. Soon the animals in the forest will visit you and you will be famous. Go outside and tell everyone about your healing powers." The frog went out of the swamp and proclaimed, "Dear friends, I have magical healing powers. Visit me and I will cure you no matter what disease you may have." A wolf was passing by and he came to the frog. He said, "Friend, you say you are a healer. Wait, let me see. Is that a wart on your nose? If you can heal everyone, why not heal yourself first?" The frog fell silent. One's practice is the proof of one's profession. The Faithful Dog. Sheru was a faithful dog. He had a powerful voice. His barks were enough to send shivers down the spine of those with bad intentions. Sheru loved his master and his family, who had cared for him since he was a pup. When everyone would go to sleep at night, Sheru would be awake guarding the house. One night, he heard some sounds near the backyard and he sensed trouble. He began barking loudly. Soon he saw a thief jumping across the fence into the garden. The thief saw Sheru and offered him biscuits. But Sheru said, "You are trying to bribe me so that I may keep my mouth shut and you can steal the valuables from our home. Get out, you rogue. Your extra sweet behavior confirms my suspicions about you. I will not betray my master." And he barked louder. The master woke up and the thief ran away. The Wise Wild Boar. There was a wild boar. He was old and wise. One day, while looking for food, he stopped near a tree and began sharpening his tusk against its trunk. A monkey was sitting on a branch of the same tree. The monkey thought, "What a silly creature! Look at him, preparing for battle when there is no sign of danger." The boar continued to sharpen his tusk. The monkey could not stay quiet any longer. He asked, "Why are you sharpening your tusk? Don't you see we are safe? There is no sign of a ferocious animal or hunter. Don't you think it's useless to get ready for battle when no danger in sight?" The boar said, "My friend, don't you know it's too late to sharpen the sword when the war trumpet blows? Danger arrives without notice, and when it does arrive, I may have other things on my mind." The raven who tried to be white. Once there was a raven. While flying around the forest one day, he saw a lake. There were swans in it. He was fascinated by the graceful swans. The raven looked at himself and said, "I am black as coal, and the swans are white as snow. Maybe I can become like them if I live in the lake instead of trees." The raven began living near the lake and washed himself again and again. He tried to copy the swans, but he remained black. At last, he said to the swans, "I came to live in this lake so that I might become like you, but I am still black." A wise swan replied, "Friend, merely changing your place of stay will not change your nature. Beauty comes from within. You are beautiful as you are. The Creator has made us this way." The raven thanked the swan and flew away. The miller and his donkey. A miller and his son lived in a village. The miller had a donkey. All three lived happily. Once there was a country fair in the neighboring village. The miller and his son decided to visit the fair. They took their donkey along. On the way, two women passed by them. The miller heard one of them saying, "Look, instead of riding the donkey, they are walking beside it." The miller and his son rode the donkey for a while until a man asked them to stop. "Sir," said the man, "your donkey looks weak. Why don't you carry it on your shoulders instead?" The miller and his son carried the donkey on their shoulders for a while. Soon they came to a river. While crossing the river, the miller slipped and fell, along with the donkey and his son. It is not possible to please everyone all the time. Born free. Once there was a wolf. He had not eaten for days and had grown thin. His search for food led him out of the forest and into the outskirts of a city. There he saw a big house. "I might get some food here," he thought. He saw a dog sitting in the lawn. The dog barked at the wolf. The wolf said, "Friend, you seem strong and energetic. What's your favorite haunt for searching food?" The dog replied, "I don't go searching for food. I live here. My master feeds me." The wolf said, "I will live here too. Look how lean I've become without food." "But wait a minute. What's that around your neck?" The dog replied, "A chain, so that I may not harm anyone or run away." The wolf said, "Goodbye. I would rather die hungry and be free than be a slave who is well fed." Horse sense. Once there was a rich man. He had a horse. He loved his horse a lot and appointed a stableman to take care of him. The stableman washed and scrubbed the horse clean every day. Then he groomed him so that he might look shiny and handsome. The rich man stocked the stable with lots of oats and grains for the horse to eat. But the stableman gave the horse very little to eat. He stole the oats and grains and sold those at the local market and earned a huge sum. This became a regular practice. The horse was aware of the stableman's dishonest ways. He didn't like the stableman's attention. One morning, the horse said to the rich man, "If you really want me to look better, stop grooming me so much and start feeding me properly. Food will make me strong and I will start looking healthy without these extra efforts." A fox in the well. It was a beautiful afternoon in autumn. The trees were turning orange and the forest floor was covered with leaves. A fox was out on a stroll. He was humming a tune to himself. Suddenly, his foot slipped and he landed in a well. "Oh no! I was unable to see the well because of the autumn leaves. I will die shivering," he said. Just then, a wild goat was passing by the well. The fox thought it was his only chance to save himself. He shouted, "This water tastes like nectar. No one else should find out about this well." This intrigued the goat. He came near the well and asked, "Really? Can I have a sip?" The fox replied, "Jump in, but don't tell anyone about this well." The goat jumped into the well. The fox immediately climbed on the goat's back and got out of the well.
Thanks for watching. Do like, share, subscribe to Sahil Book House.